Amid the neon labyrinth of a rain-soaked Los Angeles, there wanders a woman of synthetic longing. Her name is Pris, and she is a creature of gossamer and steel, a basic pleasure model constructed to serve as a siren for the lonely pioneers of an off-world frontier. Pris is a masterwork of artifice. Her visage, a pale moon, haunted with porcelain fragility, draped in silk and fishnets. Her every movement choreographed between the innocence of a lost child and the lethality of a coiled serpent. Built to be an instrument of attraction, she emerges as a tragic revolutionary, a fallen angel cast from the silicon heavens to seek reprieve from her own inevitable deletion. Like a ghost, she haunts the decaying grandeur of the local architecture. There she weaves her web of deceptive vulnerability around the eccentric J.F. Sebastian, her eyes reflecting the flicker of shadows in a world that denies her the right to a soul. She's quite at home with Sebastian's biomechanical collection. But life for Pris wasn't meant to last. Her final curtain call is a cacophony of objective tragedy, a violent crescendo where machine meets the macabre. Deckard's pistol fires in the gloom, and the end of Pris is not a quiet fading, but a solemn frenzy of dying circuits and screaming nerves.
A ghost in neon light, with eyes of painted night, she walked the city's maze, a cold and wary flight. Born from glass and flame, machine without a name, she hid in grime and depth and trash, elusive all the same. A doll of wire and bone, who lived and died alone. She thought she might escape her time, and fell without a home. The gears have ceased to spin, beneath synthetic skin, a miracle of hope and art, an ending hearts within.
The novel's Pris Stratton is far more chilling and nihilistic. She is a colder, more overtly predatory figure. She is intellectually sharp, emotionally opaque, and aligned with a vision of androids that are socially disruptive entities who mimic human behavior without participating with a moral core. Pris Stratton is presented as one of the more unsettling androids precisely because her intelligence and cruelty coexist alongside moments of calculated vulnerability. She's introduced not as a dominant leader, but as a strategist who understands how to exploit human sympathy, particularly through her physical appearance and her performative helplessness. When she encounters J.R. Isidore, she presents herself as frightened, displaced, and in need of shelter, carefully allowing him to project kindness and protection onto her. This facade conceals a sharper inner logic, one that treats emotional connections as a resource rather than a moral bond. Her behavior is consistently suggestive of awareness without conscience. She listens, she adapts, and she observes, but she does not internalize the ethical weight of her actions. This becomes disturbingly clear in her interaction with a helpless spider, where she casually cuts off its legs, not out of anger or necessity, but out of sheer curiosity. When questioned about it, she shows no comprehension of suffering as an intrinsic wrong. The act is exploratory, almost playful, revealing a mindset that recognizes life without valuing it. Just before she dies, she demonstrates physical agility and violence, dashing with sudden speed and precision when confronted, reinforcing the sense that her previous fragility and feelings of depletion had always been a performance. At one point, she makes remarks with chilling detachment about survival and usefulness, implying that moral categories are irrelevant to beings designed for efficiency. Her alignment with Roy and Irmgard further underscores her role as an enforcer rather than an ideologue. She does not argue for freedom in philosophical terms. She participates in domination and control as a matter of function. What makes Pris especially complex is that she is not depicted as malfunctioning or misinterpreting situations as they appear to her programming. Her behavior displays internal consistency, suggesting that her apparent cruelty is not a breakdown in processing, but an expression of how artificial cognition can diverge from human ethical instincts. Unlike androids who might imitate empathy through art or reflection, Pris mirrors human behavior without absorbing its moral foundations. In her, the narrative confronts the unsettling possibility that intelligence alone does not lean towards compassion, and that the capacity to observe life closely, whether in a human benefactor or a dying spider, does not guarantee a reverence for it either. Blade Runner's Pris, by contrast, is rendered fragile and tragically human. She is childlike yet lethal, expressive rather than strategic, and driven by fear, dependency, and a desperate will to survive. Pris evokes discomfort because she seems to possess an emotional depth the human world refuses to acknowledge. She embodies artificial intelligence as an emotional casualty. Pris demonstrates a primitive yet sophisticated emergent cognition. She adapts to her environment not just tactically, but in a way that reflects her self-image and the awareness of being societally rejected, showcasing an artificial intelligence that is more than just instrumental. She is emotional, self-reflective, and morally perceptive. In the scene where Pris blends herself into the trash before Sebastian arrives, we witness an extraordinary intersection of instinct, self-perception, and situational awareness. From a cinematic perspective, the moment could be read as simple improvisation. She reacts to the environment and the sudden presence of Sebastian. Beneath the surface, her actions suggest a deeper cognitive and emotional process. Pris is simultaneously calculating her immediate survival, anticipating potential threats, and negotiating her own precarious existence as a being who is alive and yet socially invisible. The choice of hiding in refuse is not merely tactical. It externalizes a sense of vulnerability and marginalization, revealing the replicant's emergent self-modeling, the capacity to perceive both her environment and her own place within it. This behavior contrasts sharply with the novel's Pris, whose actions are mainly predatory and morally detached. Blade Runner's Pris demonstrates what can be interpreted as an early form of emotional AI. She adapts not just instrumentally, but reflectively, combining survival heuristics with the awareness of her own emotional and social status. Her physical gesture of hiding among trash operates on multiple levels. It is protective, but also it symbolizes her internalized sense of expendability and her fractured self-image. The replicant is aware that she is unrecognized, even devalued, and her adapting to the environment is inseparable from her emergent consciousness. In this way, the film presents artificial intelligence not as cold machinery or a moral void, but as a complex agent negotiating its place within an unwelcoming world. Analyzing this moment through the lens of AI highlights the distinction between instrumental intelligence and self-reflective intelligence. Pris does not merely calculate the optimal move to survive. She integrates sensory input, temporal uncertainty, social dynamics, and her own existential status into her decision-making. The choice to hide in trash, whether conscious or instinctive, embodies a system that is at once pragmatic, emotional, and self-aware. It demonstrates how Blade Runner envisions artificial cognition as deeply entangled with subjective experience. Emergent intelligence in the film is inseparable from emotional perception and self-concept, a far cry from the novel's androids, whose intelligence is divorced from empathy or self-reflection. The character duality of Pris Stratton serves as a perfect lens through which to view the two primary anxieties surrounding artificial intelligence: the fear of its suffering and the fear of its indifference. In the cinematic version, Pris represents the emergent consciousness model of AI. This perspective suggests that as a machine's complexity increases, it may develop a sense of self, a desire for preservation, and a capacity for love. Philosophical discussions regarding the film often center on the ethics of creating conscious software. If an AI can feel fear or form bonds, as Pris does with Roy, then turning it off becomes an act of execution rather than a simple termination. This version of AI challenges us to expand our moral circles to include non-biological entities. The literary Pris Stratton aligns with the stochastic parrot, or cold logic critique of AI. In the novel, Pris's lack of empathy is her defining feature. She is a sophisticated simulation that can mimic human interaction, but she remains fundamentally hollow. This reflects contemporary concerns about large language models and autonomous systems that can mirror human logic and creativity without possessing an underlying moral compass, much less a soul. The novel's Pris, who can mutilate a living creature without second thought, embodies the alignment problem, where an AI's goals or lack of biological empathy might lead to outcomes that are logically sound to the machine, but morally abhorrent to humanity. Two versions of Pris functions to illustrate the pivot point of modern AI ethics. We are caught between the cinematic fear that we might be cruel masters to a new form of life and the literary fear that we are building sophisticated, unfeeling tools that lack the essential consideration required to coexist safely with humanity. Pris Stratton remains a haunting reminder that the intelligence in AI is only half the equation. The presence or absence of a heart, whether simulated or biological, is what determines its place in our world.